word is most often associated with the virtue of temperance? Alright, question number 3. One example of displaying temperance. Hey, by show of hands, and hey, be honest, this isn't for house points, this isn't for any competition, this is for the sake of me. By show of hands, how many of you got 3 out of 3? Keep your hand up. I got all of them. If you got 3 out of 3, and you cheated. Every day. We take quizzes almost every day, and you guys are cramped up next to each other. It's really easy to see the quiz next to you, but that's one of the ways every day that you and I can show temperance, is by not cheating on quizzes or getting answers from somewhere that isn't from yourself. So that's a great opportunity that you have every day. Teachers, you can show temperance every day because we trust you to grade our quizzes. And you trust us to take them honestly. And now Evie's going to introduce our speaker. If you guys would give her the utmost respect.
Alright guys, so today we are very honored to have with us Commissioner Gaiter. Commissioner Gaiter is the Larimer County Commissioner representing District 1, which is the northern third of Larimer County. He was elected in the general election of November 2010. In addition, Commissioner Gaiter is a business owner, research and development software engineer, business and life coach, international software networking consultant, and a board member of multiple for-profit and non-profit organizations over the last 20 years. He has been married for over 30 years to his wife Jeanette. Together they have 9 children, 7 boys and 2 girls. He is also a martial arts assistant instructor, an avid skier, a Broncos season ticket holder with his dad, and he delivered 8 of his 9 children at home. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Gaiter.
What's fun on the bio, and she didn't say it here, but I had fun when I put it together because she said I'm an avid skier. Well, if you actually look at my bio online, it says it 4 times. And I love skiing. How many of you guys here ski? All right. Yes. All right. How many have been to Raffle Basin already this year? So this year already had people been to Raffle Basin. The only area open. So this is great. But I'm really looking forward to being with you here today. I want to jump through this because I know that there will be a quiz. The principal shaper tomorrow. I thought it was going to be like today. Okay. So seriously, I want to tell you a personal story, and we're going to have some fun with this. We'll go back and forth with issues on the story. At the earlier this year, and through a series of events I got here, I hit the highest weight I have ever been at in my life. I had my fellow commissioners giving me a hard time about my weight. My baby sister, who's 10 years younger than I am, was giving me a hard time about my weight. And there were some reasons why I was there, but at the end of the day, I just decided, you know what, that is just unacceptable. And I finally got to the point where when Kimmy was giving me, my sister was giving me a hard time about it, I thought, okay, I'm going to lose some weight. And I talked with my doc, and we set a target. And I want to tell you, first and foremost, I hit my target. I've dropped about 40 pounds since April this year, so I'm really excited about that. Back to the lowest weight I've been at since shortly after I got married 30 years ago. So we're talking about temperance today, and I told you that story because I want to tie it to temperance. And you probably have this better than I do, but it's restraint. And that's the thing I'm really focused on is restraint, but restraint in passions of ambition and pleasure. And part of the reason my weight got so high, part of the reason, was I was not restraining the pleasure side. I tend to eat when I get stressed, and sometimes, as Principal Schaefer can tell you, being an elected official can be a very stressful situation. And so I tend to eat when I get stressed. So keep this definition, because this is your definition of temperance, right? How many of you have already seen this definition? Oh, come on, everybody's hands should go up there. That's right, okay. So we're going to kind of come back to weight loss here. And I want to tell you the things that work for me in weight loss and how that ties to what you do here. I had to make a decision. I told you how I got to that decision. I realized I hit a weight and I did not like how I looked. I did not like how much I weighed. I did not like what the scale said. And I did not like what my sister was saying too. It came down to determination, because this was not going to be easy. And then finally, the last thing it came down to was execution. So I actually had to make it happen. So let's talk about those three things. The first thing, like I said, was a decision. I decided this weight was too much, and I'm going to lose 40 pounds, and I'm going to try and do it as quickly as I can. Now, I'll tell you, one of the complicators is because of the medical condition I've been dealing with, I'm actually on one of the drugs I was on actually makes me gain weight. So I decided to do a ketogenic diet, which meant I had to watch what I ate. I had to be very specific about it. So I had to set my goal, how much weight I was going to lose. I had to set the parameters, what I was going to do, how much a week was acceptable, what kind of weight I was going to, I'm not going to go on a starvation diet, lose it all in 3 weeks, and then binge eat and put it all back on. This was going to be a lifestyle change. And then I had to remember my motivation. I already told you today, when I'm getting teased by my fellow commissioners, when I'm getting teased by my little sister, that was hard. That was hard. And I got to tell you, one of my biggest fans when I started losing weight was my kid sister. So she really kept me going through this. Then it was determination, because sometimes this is hard. You go to do something, and sometimes it's a real challenge. You have to be persistent. You have to be consistent. The type of diet I was on was a ketogenic diet, and that meant you had to stay in ketosis to keep losing weight. And when you're taking, one of the drugs I was on is dexamethasone, and as a medical friend of mine told me dexamethasone is an anti-ketogenic drug. So I'm taking a drug that's designed to knock you out of ketosis, which meant I had to watch very much what I ate and how much I ate. That was primarily how I did it. And then secondarily, I started kicking my exercise back up again. And then I had to recognize the good and the bad. I was going to have good days, and I was going to have bad days. One of my favorite phrases that I love comes from a Danny Taylor song way back when. And he says, some days you win, and some days you lose, and then some days you get rained out. And there were days on this diet when I felt like I got rained out. Where losing would have been a step up, where you just felt like you didn't even get off the table. And what that means is that even if you don't succeed, you've got to get up and go again. I asked her, how many people speed raise your hands again? Right? How many of you have ever fallen down? Right? I've been a ski patroller. This is my 24th season. And one of the things we say is if you don't fall down, you aren't learning. I ski with people that are phenomenal expert skiers. I'm a pretty good skier. I can ski anything. And I still fall down. I still fall down a lot because sometimes the mountain's better than you are. But the trick is you got to get up and have a determination and keep going. And then the next piece is execution. On that execution, those goals have to be achievable. If those goals are not achievable, you will give up. If I say I'm going to lose 40 pounds in the first week, that was not achievable. But if I say I'm going to work on losing a couple of pounds a week, maybe 5 pounds a week, that was achievable. And then when you achieve those goals, you're measurable. That means I got on the scale every single day. I charted my weight every single day, so I knew what I was doing. And most days I would go down a little bit. Some days I'd go back up a little bit. So that was achievable, measurable, and then rewardable. And there would be ways I could find treats to give myself, things I could eat. And I'll tell you the best treat was I had a commissioners conference in New Orleans, and I got to have beignets, which is like miniature French donuts. Some of you guys probably know those. Now I'm on a diet that I can't eat much sugar because of this. And I go out to New Orleans, and my friend told me to get a beignet, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to get a beignet. So I'm going to buy 1 beignet. And I go to the place, and you can only buy 3. So now we come back to achievable. The first thing I did when I got to the meeting, and I hadn't opened any of the beignets, is I gave 1 away. Right away. I tried to give 2 away, but I couldn't get anybody to take the second one. So then I took 1 out of the bag. I ate half of it. These are miniature donuts. They're really small. I ate half of it, set it aside. We had a break. I got up and threw the half I didn't eat away, found somebody to give the other beignet to. Because I wanted to be achievable again. I rewarded myself with a beignet, but I knew if I ate all of those beignets, I would wipe out the work I'd done in getting there that far. So I enjoyed half a beignet, and I realized, as we're back to temperance, that restraint. Being able to say no. Being able to say, I can have a half a beignet, but I'm not going to eat 3 of them. What are those obstacles that we have to temperance? What are the obstacles in my diet? I told you. Nikki, who's here, will tell you, I keep in my office for people who come and visit my guests a thing of dark chocolate. And the only dark chocolates that are in there are the ones I like. And I haven't had one. I think I've had 1. I think I've had 1 since I started this diet. And that's a temptation, but it's also a reminder for me. Because I have the chocolates there to get people to come by. My favorite is Commissioner Johnson, who comes by almost every day to steal one of my dark chocolates. Indulge in excess. I love ribs. I love ribs. And we'll have ribs or steak or something, and one of the things I've learned is to eat less. And so the temptation to indulge when you have something that you want is really high. So you don't indulge, and then watch the impulsivity. Like I said, I'm a stress eater. Things get going, you want to eat. So that's my personal life. Let's talk a little bit about some of the professional challenges. As was introduced, I'm a county commissioner. What are some of the things I have to deal with? Well, this first one is kind of interesting. And again, Principal Schaefer can probably relate to this, is power. I love the phrase, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And one of the biggest challenges, and I'll be honest with you, one of my biggest concerns being an elected official is power. I have seen a lot of good men and women who get elected, and that goes to their head, because it's fascinating how much people want to do for you and how much you can and cannot do once you get elected. And I have close friends, my wife, one of my pastors, and other close friends, and I've said, the biggest thing I want you to do is make sure this job does not go to my head. I want you to help hold me accountable to be the same guy I was before I got elected, years later after I get elected. And my wife is really good at calling me on the table with that. Compliments and its companion complaints. It's nice to have people tell you when you're doing really good, but it really is hard when people tell you that your intelligence is somewhere right below an amoeba. So, I've had both those things happen, and that latter one is a little bit, it just kind of makes you rise up and want to. I think she mentioned the martial arts instructor part. Sometimes there are days where I want to practice those martial arts with a few people. I come back to that restraint. And then recognition. That kind of goes with that compliment. That as a professional, you get recognized as a county commissioner for a lot of things. And a lot of that is really cool. But again, this comes back to in that restraint and in that wanting to maintain that character of who I am. To not let that go to my head. To be able to be proud of the ambitions. It was funny, one of the gals who came up and her kids go to mountain gymnastics, and I have 2 kids that work there, and I can be prouder. I love it when people come up to me and they go, "Are you Micah's dad?" Yes! Somebody knows me because, not because of me, not because I'm a county commissioner. They know me because of my kids. And I think that's just the biggest compliment in the world, is to somebody come up and not have a clue who I am, but know who my kids are. And that, I think, is great because it comes back to that restraint in ambition, that this recognition doesn't go to my head. I don't get jealous over my children. So I love the peace sign here. This was one of the ones we were trying to get rid of. I told you I couldn't get the right graphics. We'd updated, we have the older version with the peace sign. So the children of the 60s will recognize this, the rest of you guys won't care what it is. Especially we talked about moderation and sobriety. And the 60s were not known for moderation and sobriety. But part of restraint is understanding that moderation. It's what you can do in moderation. How many Cokes can you drink? How many Cokes should you drink? Have you ever heard, when I was a kid, there was a Lay's potato chip. No one can eat just one. And so I think that's learning that moderation. And sobriety, not just necessarily with regard to alcohol intoxication, but I think sobriety with regard to our character and our behavior and how we go things. What kind of an example do you set as a leader? And a lot of times we think of leaders as Principal Schaefer, myself, other people, but I will tell you that every single one of you is a leader. You're a leader in your community. You're a leader with your friends. You go to a school that has got statewide and nationwide recognition. When you say, I go to Liberty Common High School, that means something to people. And they look at you as a leader, and they look to you as an example. What are you doing for the greater good? This works at home, in school, in your job, and in the community. I want to end here with a quote from Robert O'Malley from the U.S. Marine Corps. No matter how difficult it seems at the time, it's easier to do the right thing than to spend a lifetime regretting that you didn't. It's always easier to do the right thing. It's harder at the time in many cases. But I don't know anybody that doesn't look back on some of their mistakes and wish they hadn't done the right thing in the first place when they look back in the lens of history at the time. Thank you guys so very much for your time, and do you have any questions? Is that a handout for the question? County Commissioner term is 4 years. Yes, in the back.
What exactly do you do?
What exactly do I do? So the first thing I can tell you is that is the most commonly asked question that we get. So the simple answer is we run local or county government. That means we are responsible for setting the budget. All of the departments, not the other elected officials at the county level, but road and bridge, public health, the health department, the planning department, they report to the county commissioners. That's just a couple. We have several departments and divisions. We set the budget for every county department, whether it's the sheriff, the assessor, the coroner, clerk, and recorder. County commissioners also set your local ordinance. It's one of the only places in government where you have legislative power, because we set county ordinances. We have executive power. All the departments report to us. And we have quasi-judicial power, and that is we make binding determinations on certain issues, land use and other types of things like that. So that's a real quick answer as to what the county commissioners do. Yes, sir, and then I'll come over here. Go ahead in the back there. Sure, ma'am, I didn't see whose hand it was. I saw a hand go up. Go ahead.
Of the things you do as county commissioner, what's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite hands-down thing to do, every month I have 4 citizen meetings where I go out into the community and I meet with just whoever comes. We do them usually in the mornings or the ones in the evening. And we just sit down and talk. Usually I have a guest, but not always. I remember one year they said, Lou, sometimes we want you to be the guest. And I always start the meeting out with, what do you guys want to talk about? Sometimes they come out with their pitchforks and their axes because they're mad about something. But it's a great opportunity. I always feel like you can't represent people if you don't know what they're thinking, and the best way is to get out and talk to them and listen to them. So that is my hands-down favorite things to do, is go to citizen meetings because I hear from people. All right, let me go back and then I'll come up to you, okay? That, yes?
You said in your bio that you're 8 or 9 children at home.
Yes, sir.
Set up for that, and what was the bio that
So I had 8 of the 9 kids at home. What decisions led up to that, and then what was it like after that? Is that right? Did I get it all right? Okay. The first child was born in a hospital. We lived in California at the time, Stephanie. And it was a great experience. We did not have a bad hospital birth per se. We got to be friends with the doc. He was the resident doc, not the doc. The doctor who delivered the baby is actually not the doctor on the birth certificate. And we had some friends that were getting into home birthing, and Mike Heanahan, who was the doctor that actually delivered Steph, was going to work with me. Jeanette was pregnant, and then we moved back here. Well, those friends who were in the home births were also midwives, and they, we just thought, well, we're here, we know them. So we did it with John. We realized we had some mild complications, but they were so cool about it. We actually didn't realize we were having complications until they told us after it was all done. And our hospital birth was good, and I'll tell you, just as a dad who's delivered 8 of his 9 kids at home, we had a great hospital birth. It was a fun experience, no regrets on it, and it doesn't even start to compare to any of our home births. Our home births it was much more peaceful, it was our home, it was quiet, and this is one of the best parts for me, my wife too, because when you're all done, you clean up and you're home. And you're just done. Yes, sir? How did I decide to become a county commissioner? It's something I've thought about on and off for a while. And I actually was diagnosed with cancer in 2009 and went through some pretty serious treatment for that, and then was recovering from that and decided, I'm probably not going to be able to run in 2010. It's going to be a pretty heavy field, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull this off. And then through a series of events, I was actually able to run in what they call a vacancy election, so it was a much abbreviated process, and I was blessed enough to win that. And it got me to a place where I was actually doing the job with most of what I needed to do to run the job. So it's been great. It's something I feel like I'm supposed to do. I think I'm good at it, and we'll find out if people want to have me back. You want one more question? Okay. Yes, ma'am. I think the very first time, and honestly, it's what keeps me going, to be honest with you. And so this gets to me, my person and my faith. It's something that my wife and I talk a lot about. I feel like at this point in time, this is something that, just as I prayerfully considered it, that I believe God would have me pursue. There are a lot of natural reasons. I love serving people. I love wanting to help people. But at the end of the day, I felt like it was my time to give back to the community, and this is something I felt like I was supposed to pursue. All right, thank you guys very much.
It's got the 5 capstones on it. And thank you. One more round of applause.
Every day she's always put everybody else in front of her own needs. She's always showing gratitude. She's always saying thank you to her teachers, her other students. She always shows prudence. She can see, even when things are not going her way, she always smiles. She's always positive. She always tries to keep everybody positive. She possesses such a temperance that she motivates other students to be better with her actions. And what's the most important to me is that this particular student, she leads because she knows the way and not for the recognition of being a leader. So in fact, she knows the way so well that I know she'll have no problem coming here to the front to get her award. Vivian Baer, please take your award. showed her fortitude by being such a hard worker and always being dependable and diligent with all her assignments and any responsibility given to her. She also shows gratitude by thanking her teachers. She is taking many difficult AP classes this year, as well as being an officer for the house system and participating in other clubs, showing me that she cares about her future and not just temporary things, letting me know she has temperance. I have seen her help, listen, and encourage other students, showing me that she has justice and cares for the needs of others. Overall, this